All right, let's recap the story that we have. It's Halloween. You were a little bit crazy. You were just eating candy left and right. You opened up one Mars bar the night before and took a bite out of it and then forgot about it because you saw some cheesies or something else that you really wanted. And a little bit later, you felt like Mars bar again. You found another Mars bar, opened it up, took a bite out of it, and then saw another bag of cheesies and went back to that again. The next day, you look, and you've got 2 Mars bars left over, and each of them is 3/4 of a bar. So how much do you have in total for Mars bars left? I want you to think about what kind of math you would write down with fractions and see if you can solve this. Okay, looking around, most of you decided to add. I've got 3/4 of a chocolate bar plus 3/4 of a chocolate bar. It already has a common denominator. That's really nice. So we can add the tops, which gives us 6/4. Can you see that you could reduce these? Yes. Okay. And our final answer is 3/2, which is 1.5 chocolate bars that are left. Now, adding in this case works just fine because we only have 2 chocolate bars. But let's say it was a really crazy night of Mars bars and cheesies, and the next morning you wake up and you realize that you did this back and forth Mars bar cheesy thing so many times. In the morning, you woke up and you had 9 Mars bars that you had opened up, each taking a bite out at once. So you could do the adding thing again. 9 times, oh, this is going to be tiresome. How many am I at? Okay, oh. But what makes more sense if you have a lot of things that are the same size? What kind of math can we do to do this quicker? For example, yes, we can multiply. Something a little bit easier. Halloween, I'm on Halloween candy today. Have you ever trick-or-treated and got Starbursts? Yeah. They come in a little package. How many come in there? 2. So if you had 23 of them, you'd have 2 times 23, 46 Starbursts. Multiplication makes more sense there than having to go 2 plus 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 2 up to 26. So in this case, this will make more sense if we do 9 times 3/4. At this time in the morning, you're probably wishing, I wish I would have just finished my first chocolate bar before opening them all up, because now they're getting like dry. Do chocolate bars get dry? They can a little bit, I guess. So how do we multiply? What happens if it's a whole number in front? How do you multiply fractions? You multiply the tops and you multiply the bottoms. Is there a bottom with 9? Can we write it as a fraction? We can write 9 as 9/1. Okay? This is important because this is a common mistake that students make. When they have 9 times 3/4, this is the mistake that they make. 9 times 3 is 27. 9 times 4 is 36. This is wrong. Can you see yourself making that mistake? Okay? You have to think that 9 is a fraction, 9/1. How do we multiply fractions? 9 times 3 is 27, and then 1 times 4 is 4. As a mixed fraction, this is 6 3/4. So you opened up 9 chocolate bars, ate 1/4 off of each of them. In reality, you have like 6 full chocolate bars left and 3/4. But unfortunately, all the bags or all the packaging is ripped open on all of them. So going back to our first question, we could have, instead of instead of adding, we could have multiplied 2 times 3/4. And if we think, well, how do we multiply fractions? What's the mistake that I said you guys would make? You'd multiply both of them by 2. You have to remember that 2 is really 2 over 1. Multiply our numerators, multiply our denominators, and we get exactly the same answer. Here's our next problem to interpret. Again, read the question, and then I want you to write the mathematics for how to figure out the answer to this question. She had $20 for allowance. She spent 1/3 of it on Mars bars. How much does she have left? Okay, we read the question. She spent 1/3 of it on food. So if I write here, okay, this is how much she spent, 1/3 of 20. The word of, when we read it in English, and we have a fraction, mathematically that means you multiply. 1/3 of 20 is 1/3 times 20. How do we multiply fractions? Right, we're going to need a 1 on the bottom there to make that a fraction. How do we multiply fractions? Multiply the tops, 20, multiply the bottoms, over 3. 20 over 3, which as a mixed fraction is 6 2/3. As a decimal, $6.66. Well, actually, rounding would round up, because wherever you would go, they would round up $6.67, but they'd actually just charge you $6.65, right? Yes. So, but that's how much she spent. With a math question, when you're doing a math question, this is different than reading in English, right? How many times when you're reading a novel do you read a sentence and say, oh, I think I'll read that sentence again? And then you read the next sentence and say, oh, I'll go back and read that sentence again. But in math, when you have a math question, you do a little bit of math. So she spent 1/3 of 20. You get involved with solving the math. We find out she spent $6.67, but in math, it's important to reread the question. Because when we reread this question, what did the question actually ask us? How much does she have left? It didn't ask us, how much did she spend? If it said, how much did she spend, we're done. We figured out she spent $6.67. But it said, how much did she have left? How much did she have left? Well, to figure out how much she had left, we would have to take her original $20 and subtract how much she spent. She spent, as a fraction, 20 over 3. How do you subtract fractions? You need it over 1. What's the rule for subtracting fractions? We need common denominator. Are they in common yet? No, but I can multiply the 1 easily by 3. Gives me 60 over 3 minus 20 over 3. Leaves me with 40 over 3, or this works out to 13 1/3, or as a decimal, $13.33. If you had changed it to a decimal, you could have gone to your calculator and done 20 minus 16.67 and got 13.33 there as well. Yes? don't think I do. No, I do not. Okay. Another way that you can do this question, if you spend a third, does it make sense that you have 2/3 left? Does that make sense? Okay. Like if you eat a third of a chocolate bar, you have 2/3 left. This is a really important math concept with fractions because if we have 2/3 left, we have 2/3 of 20 left. What does the word of mean when we're reading with fractions? It means multiply. So if I would have done this 2/3 times 20, and I change my 20 to 20 over 1, 2 times 20 is 40, 1 times 3 is 3. We get our answer right away. Sometimes if it's asking how much is left and you can change that fraction, it can come and help you a lot. Okay, where do we see this most likely in your real life questions, right? In this case, you have $20 for allowance, you spend money, you look at it, you see how much you have left. You're not really doing the math here very often. The main place where this comes up in real life is shopping. Have any of you ever gone shopping? No, never. It's this thing where you go to a store and you buy stuff. You should try it. It is really can be quite enjoyable. If you like it too much, it can be really expensive. So you go shopping. And if you start to like shopping a lot, shopping costs a lot of money. So then after a while, you're like, I need to find some deals. So you are going to buy a pair of Lululemon tights, and they happen to be 10% off. How much do they cost normally? $100. So they're regular, let's say you're buying last year's, it's only $90, but it's 10% off. So this is what happens in a store. This is what you run into. And this is where the fraction math really comes into play. Okay? You want to figure out how much this is going to cost. 10% off means, okay, 10% off, you are paying how much off? So the first question you ask is how much gets taken off? 10% of 90. This is English. We have to figure out 10% of 90. If we're figuring out 10% of 90, what does the of mean mathematically? We're going to multiply. What is 10%? We changed percentages to decimals before. 10% is 0.10. What is 0.1 as a fraction? Riley, this is where you can apply this. So you need to focus, because I don't know if I give you this question on Friday's quiz, I need you to focus now so you can get it on Friday. Okay? So 0.1 of 90, 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10 times 90 over 1. How do we multiply fractions?
Switch them.
Multiply the tops, 90. Multiply the bottoms, 10. Can you reduce 90 divided by 10? What does that equal? 45 over 5, and you can reduce that. Eventually becomes 9 over 1. You could divide them both by 10. So if something says 10% off, that's going to give you $9 off. Okay? And so you would pay, how much would you pay? $81, because you could do 10% off. Something about 10%? 10%, the shortcut for doing 10%, 1/10 is just move the decimal place over 1. See how you get $9 that way?
Can I go to the bathroom really quick? You can count.
Not today. So you pay $81. If it's 10% off, does it make sense? This is the idea. If it's 10% off, does it make sense that you will pay 90% of the price? Okay? And this allows you 90% of $90. This is 0.9 times 90, or 9/10 times 90 over 1. $810 divided by 10. Do you know the trick for dividing by 10? No. Then you just move the decimal place 1 over. So many awesome math things that you can do. And you get $81 directly. So to help you, if you have a calculator, okay, right? You have a calculator on your phone, you're going to a store, you see a new pair of shoes for $127, but they're 35% off. If they're 35% off, how much of the price are you paying? You're paying 65% of the price. So 65% of 127 is 0.65 of is times 127. You can figure out that you will be paying $82.55 plus tax. Why did I pick? Well, 127 was the regular price.
Oh, I thought you said 135.
No. 127 was the regular price. It was 35% off. Now you know how to figure out, is that a good deal for you? Are you wanting to pay $82 for these shoes or not? If you're like, no, that's still too expensive, at least you know. You can do this for all percentages off, right? So you want to go out and buy, we bought shoes. You want to buy a new winter jacket. Your new winter jacket's regular price is $225. Okay, your new winter jacket is $500, but now it's 40% off. 40%, if it's 40% off, what percentage of the price will you pay? 60. You will pay 60% of 500. 60% of 500. 60% is 0.6. In math, of is times 500. How much is the price going to be? $300. You save $200 when it's 40% off. So when you're shopping, you will often see percentages off. And to be able to use your calculator to figure out that price, it helps. Because sometimes you're like, I'd buy this jacket if it was $270, but that's the most I'd pay. But you can't do the math, so you don't know. So you could go to the till and have them ring it through, but then it's kind of embarrassing to go, oh, that's how much it is? I don't know if I want to buy it anymore. And everybody's in line like, are you wasting our time? You know, it's like, okay, I'll buy it when you shouldn't.
But then you got a new jacket.
Yeah, but you might have spent more money than you wanted. So being able to do the math beforehand is important. Okay, here are some for you to try. So multiplying fractions, rules for multiplying fractions. I am going to draw a line here because I'm going to show you an advanced method after that is faster for simplifying. But it works, but I'm going to show it to you after. First of all, we're going to go through the regular rules of multiplying. How do we multiply fractions? We multiply the tops, we multiply the bottoms. So 7 times 6 is 42. 3 times 5 is 15. Will this be positive or negative? A negative times a positive will be negative. This is where we have to check, can I divide these numbers by anything? Okay? Go through your calculator. They both don't divide by 2. You try them, but divide by 3. You can divide both of them by 3. So you go to your calculator and you try, can I divide them by 3? Can I divide them by 4? Can I divide them by 5? It works to divide them by 3, so you do that. And negative 42 divided by 3 is negative 14. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Or negative 2 and 4/5. Second question. How do we multiply fractions? Multiply the numerators. 2 times 3 is 6. Multiply the bottoms. 3 times 4 is 12. I saw some of you divide them both by 2. Perfect. Divide by 2, divide by 2. Got 3 out of 6. When you get 3 out of 6, you can keep simplifying both of these, divide by 3. And you get 1/2. Did anybody see that you could have gone right from the first fraction if you would have divided them both by 6? Now, if we can find the biggest number they divide by first, it makes it faster, but that's not always going to be the case. Okay. The last one, multiplying. Multiply the tops. 5 times 2 is 10. 4 times 3 is 12. Negative times a negative? Positive. 10 over 12. Notice you can divide both of these by 2. It's not a bad idea to circle your final answer. And that is a regular way to multiply. Multiply your numerators, multiply your denominators. Now, I said that I would show you an advanced shortcut. You can use this if you like. In the advanced shortcut, you simplify first if you can. Okay? So we look in the fractions. I can't simplify 7 over 3. I can't simplify 6 over 5. But diagonally, what's 6 divided by 3? 2. So I stroke out these, and I change them with 2 over 1. Then after I've simplified, I multiply the tops like normal. 7 times 2. 14. 1 times 5, 5. Can you see that you get your answer in the simplified form earlier? Some people's calculator does that for them. Next one. 2 times 3, 2/3, sorry, times 3/4. Can you see anything you could simplify diagonally?
Yes.
3 and 3 simplifies to 1 and 1. What about 2 and 4? It would simplify to 1/2. Then you just have 1 times 1, 1 times 2, and you get the simplified answer right away. Final one, negative 5 over 4 multiplied by negative 2 over 3. On this diagonal here, 2 and 4. That can simplify that fraction to 1 and 2. Then you have 5 times 1, 5, 2 times 3, 6, negative times a negative, positive.